אדוני את רצון, אלוהים ברוב חסדך, ענני באמת אישך. מה טובו, מה טובו, מה טובו, מה טובו. Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi Colin.
Shabbat Shalom, Cantor Breitzer. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's so wonderful to be together here on this Shabbat morning. We have so many wonderful things to celebrate. We're going to celebrate this morning the B'nai Mitzvah of Zoe and Phoebe. We could not be more overjoyed about that, to welcome all of Zoe and Phoebe's friends, all of their families, all of our Shabbat regulars, all of our guests, and everyone who is joining us here virtually.
And up
Hold
there,
on.
the eye in the sky. Hi, we see you. Hi. Yeah, over there.
How sweet it is to join on this Shabbat. Just a few ways that you might find yourself here in this space. First, we want to make sure that you find yourself here feeling comfortable and safe. If you want to wear a mask, you're welcome to. It's optional here on this morning, but we also have a lot of space. So if you feel like you need to stretch out physically or spiritually or emotionally, you could find yourself anywhere here in this sanctuary and still be part of this beautiful morning. And how do we enter this space? What do we do here? What are we in fact doing here besides celebrating these young people who are becoming adults in the eyes of the Jewish people here this morning? You know, no pressure on that. But we've also come here to celebrate Shabbat, to be together on this one magnificent day that we get each week. This one day that reminds us that we are not the lists we make and check off. We are not the tasks that we're required to do. We're not our homework. We are not our classwork. We are not the assignment our boss just gave us. We are not our housework. We are whole, beautiful people who do that good stuff too. But I wonder if there are folks here who are like me, where you have your calendar mapped out hour by hour. Like your life just looks like maybe a half hour, maybe 15 minute by 15 minutes. Everything that you need to do. And perhaps your iPhone or other technology looks like mine, where like 3 things are in the same time, which is not to say you're multitasking. We are literally trying to fit the same things into the same time and space. Impossible, and our hearts and our minds sometimes feel like they're going to burst just from all that we are responsible for. All that feels like it's on your shoulders today. This is a space, this is a room, this is a day where we get to put that down. Just because we are human beings, by virtue of the fact that you are here and alive, you get a day of rest. We need this day of rest to be our whole selves, to be able to give to each other what we want to give to each other, to be present with each other. And so here, this morning, all you need to do is be here. You don't have to answer any texts or go on social media or doom scroll. We like to doom scroll and find out what terrible thing has happened. Don't do that. In fact, you can turn those devices off. You do not need them today. You don't need their buzzing in your ear or in your pocket or on your mind. Just turn them off and turn on instead breath, just breathing here, or song, or joy, or community, or love, or family, or can you believe that you've made it to this day? Goodness. That's all we need in this space, to be present with each other and raise joy in this room and fill this room with song. Now, you might not know all of the prayers that we're going to pray today. This might be your very first time in a synagogue. This might be your very first time in a Reform synagogue. All of you, all of us, we are all welcome here. Even if you are joining us from Turkey, welcome. We are so glad that you are with us. You are far, but I know you are felt close. So if this is your first time here, as the cantor mentioned, we'll find our way through this prayer book. We're going to share page numbers with you, so you don't ever have to feel like you are lost or you have to guess where we are. But you can also make your own way. On the right-hand side, we'll find the Hebrew words that we're praying most often. But beneath them, you'll find the translation, and maybe that's your way in. You just want to know what it is we're saying, almost word for word, a little poetic. And on the left-hand side of the page, you'll find poetry or a modern interpretation of this prayer that's on the right-hand side of the page. That's our map. You can find your way into this prayer service no matter what tradition you come from or no tradition at all, through this book or just through this space. Maybe your eyes fall on a word or an idea or a thought, and that grabs you and that pulls you in. You should feel free to find yourself anywhere you need to in this book, in this prayer book. And if your eyes, while you're reading, land on the word God, and you think to yourself, oh, I know that deity. I'm familiar with that deity. Whichever way you go up the mountain, whichever way you find your way to spirituality, maybe God is an access point for you. And you find God here and you think, I am part of something bigger than me. But maybe for some of us, God is like a closed door. Like you see the word God or the name God or a name for God and you think, I have no relationship to that deity, entity, force. So we want to invite you, if we happen upon something that feels like it's not for you, find a way around it. Find a way through it. Find a way to interpret it. Maybe God for you is nature. Maybe God for you is just being part of something bigger than yourself, knowing that we're not alone here. Or maybe it's just the connection between human beings, from friend to friend or family to family or neighbor to neighbor.
Or phone to phone.
Phone to phone. It's God.
It's God.
It's not God. God might be calling, but not like that. I don't know, maybe like that. What do I know, Cantor? So we just want you to feel comfortable here in this place. We want you to find your voice here. If you don't know the words or you don't know the tunes, we invite you to sing along in whatever way is comfortable for you. La, 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 nai, 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 da, da, da. It all works in place of Hebrew words you might not know or tunes you're not familiar with yet, although the cantor will make sure we get familiar with them throughout this service. So what is coming next? Where are we going from here? We are going into our morning blessings. And so the first prayer that we will pray together is called Asher Yatzar, and it's a prayer about our body. Just giving thanks that when we woke up this morning, the things that needed to work to get us here into this room worked. And we are grateful for that. We know that we rely on our body to move our soul from place to place. And so here we are giving thanks for all of our parts that they are working this morning. And then we'll pray the words of Nisimba Yom, which means the miracles of each day. Not the miracles of maybe waters parting or the miracles of manna falling from the sky to feed us in the wilderness, but just the miracle of breathing, the miracle of being alive, the miracle of having seen something beautiful on your walk over here, the miracle of the trees growing outside, the miracle that you could tie your shoes this morning, the miracle that your eyes opened, the miracle of seeing a friend you haven't seen in a while, the miracle of two young people who are going to ascend this bima later this morning. We give thanks for them all. Asher Yatzar, you will find partially on page
194. I thank you for my life, body and soul. Help me realize I am beautiful and whole. I'm perfect the way I am, and a little broken too. I will live each day as a gift I give to you. Can you with me? and soul. Help me realize I am beautiful and whole. Help me realize I am beautiful and whole. I'm perfect the way I am and a little broken too. I'm perfect the way I am and a little broken too. I will live each day as a gift I give to you. I will live each day as a gift I give to you. Oh, oh, oh. A little higher. Oh, and higher still. Oh, oh. The middle of 194. Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh chol basar umafli la'asot. Once again, Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh chol basar umafli la'asot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan nasech v'bina lehavchin ben yom uben layla. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokev kefufim. Page 200. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who stretches the earth over the waters. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who strengthens our steps. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who clothes the naked. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who gives strength to the weary. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. Hamavir sheina me'enai utnuma me'af apai. Page 202. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who made me in the image of God. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me free. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who girds Yisrael with strength. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who crowns Yisrael with splendor. We turn now to page 218. We are now going to surprise you by asking you to do something radical. Radical means like away from the center, right? Away from the middle of things, like radius, like going out. And that's actually what we're going to ask you to do now. We're going to invite you to stand up, to take your prayer book, and to come up here with us. If you're sitting over here, you can just stand at your seats in the chairs. If you're in the pews, come all the way up here.
Really? He's not kidding. Come. Stand,
I wouldn't
come
joke
forward.
about this. Everyone should
Too
please
serious,
stand.
Canner.
Everyone in the pews should come close. Zoe, Phoebe, bring your families. People love you. They're going to come close with you. Come on up here. Come on up here. Right next to us, to the left, to the right, up here. This is getting closer. Suspense building music. Where are those O's? Let's do them again. Whoa. Come on. Whoa. Is this happening? Yes, it's really happening. Whoa. Come closer. Whoa. 218. Hallelujah. 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 Here we go. Hallelujah. 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 Let's try it. Hallelujah. 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 Bekodesho. Hallelujah. Birkia uzo. your feet on this red floor. Hallelujah, 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 beteka shofar, hallelujah, benevel vechinor, hallelujah, betofu machol, hallelujah, beminim vehugav, and now, hallelujah, hallelujah. Can't hear you, come on. If you love our B'nai Mitzvah, you'll sing louder. Let them hear you on 7th Avenue. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Betzirtzelei Shama, hallelujah. Betzirtzelei Shama, hallelujah. Betzirtzelei Truah, Kol Hanshama Tehallelya, hallelujah, hallelujah. Now just don't whisper, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Snap, 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 hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. You can breathe. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. And that is a miracle. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
That was really quite good.
Wow.
I know.
You did great.
Thanks.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks. You'll notice that the cantor likes to hit his guitar so I don't get off rhythm. That's to help me, not you. You were wonderful. And in fact, right now what we want to make sure that we are is not just a room full of people, but a room full of people who have connected with each other and feel warm and welcome, as we want to invite you to turn to somebody near you or not that near you and wish each other Shabbat Shalom and tell them who you are and get to know each other just for a fraction of a moment.
Wonderful job greeting one another. We're actually going to stay up here. We'll make our way back to our seats very soon, very soon. But for now, we turn to page 224 for Chatzi Kaddish, and we face this way towards Yerushalayim. 224. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba, be'almad yivrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael, b'hagala u'bizman kariv v'yimeru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevarach, le'alam u'le'alamei almayayit. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. 226 ברכו את אדוני המבורך ברוך אדוני המבורך המבורך לעולם ועד המבורך המבורך לעולם ועד. Page 228, as we make our way back to our seats, notice the light coming in through the stained glass. 228. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam יוצא אור ובורא חושך עושה שלום ובורא את הכל. 228 ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם יוצא אור ובורא חושך עושה שלום ובורא את הכל. One more time. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם יוצא
On page 229, in the middle of the page, we read these words together. You are praised, who rolls out the rough, raw clay of the universe into delicate vessels of light. And from nothing at all, we could perceive in a world that has turned old, a shimmering new creation right before our eyes, made this moment just for us. How much of life reveals your presence? How much Torah unfolds from each new flower, from each new wave that breaks upon the sea? You are praised, who forms from the clay that cloaks our lives, the delicate vessels which contain our light. On page 230, we turn to Ahava Rabbah, a prayer that calls us to expansive and enormous and unending love. Many of our traditions share this idea that God loves us. But it's not always an easy thing to hear or an easy thing to believe. And sometimes we hear God loves us and we think, okay, yeah. Or we think, that sounds very nice, but I don't know what that means. Or we think, I don't know that I am worthy of God's love. Who am I? And so we ignore it or we shut it out. But the thing about this blessing is that it waits for us all the time. These words are always here waiting for us to come back to know that the way God teaches us is through love. The way God sees us is only through love, through our imperfections, through all the things we struggle with. They're nothing. God only sees us through love, and through that rabbah, that expansive and unending love. So we become like a conduit. And that's its purpose, that God's love flows through us, and it allows us to love each other, to love strangers and friends and family, to even love ourselves. That is as expansive as that love, that divine love can be. And so on page 230, we return to these words of God's expansive love and Torah.
גדולה ויתרה חמרת עלינו בעבור אבותינו ואימותינו שבטחו בך בעבור אימותינו התלמדם חוקי חיים תכוננו תלמדנו המרחם רחם עלינו ותן בליבנו להבין ולהשכיל לשמוע ללמוד וללמד לשמור ולעשות לקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה והאר עינינו בתורתך ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך ויחל לבבינו באהבה וליראה את שמך ולא הגדול והנורא בטחנו נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. Near the bottom of 230 והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו. כי אל פועל ישועות אתה, ובנו בחרת, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, סלע. באמת להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. 232. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. 234. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. Page 240. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. Clap your hands, שירה חדשה, שיבחו גאולים ושיבחה על שפת הים, יחד כולם פוסקו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. We rise, צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופדי חין נאומך יהודה וישראל. גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
We've now raised up our bodies to move ourselves into our Amidah, which means standing. We'll find it in a moment, beginning on page 242. And then there'll be our first blessing, and then there'll be our second blessing, and then we will make our way into the third blessing of the Amidah. And we'll hear the words, Ledor Vador, Ledor Vador, from generation to generation. How much of this morning is about passing some wisdom, passing love and community and legacy from generation to generation. And so as we get to those words, which we will feel in your own mouth, we will sing them together. Ledor Vador. Just picture what it is that you have, that you want to pass on. What is the legacy that you leave to the generations that are next? And if you are the generations that are next, how are you going to receive the next things that are being passed to you. You are the door of Lador Vador. And so we move into this prayer with great joy and great responsibility and the brightness in our eyes of passing Torah down from generation to generation. We are on page 242.
שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai, 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 244, Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Konei Hakol, ve'Zocher Chasdei Avot ve'Imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. 246, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיים את אימת הרב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד. מחיים מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים. 248, נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם. אלוהי ציון לדור ודור, הללויה לדור ודור. נגיד גוד לך. Louder. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך. ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך. נקדיש ושבחך אלוהינו, מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. We continue silently through page 261, using the words we find in these pages, or the words we find in these hearts of ours. When we've each finished our personal prayers, we may be seated. Page 662. We are in the month of Elul, the last month of the Hebrew calendar. We are preparing ourselves for the Yamim Noraim, the high holy days, the days of awe. And on page 662, we find these words from Psalm 27, traditionally recited during this season. Achat sha'alti met Adonai, ota havakesh. Achat sha'alti met Adonai, ota havakesh. Shivti bebeit Adonai, kol yemei chayai, לחזות בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו. לחזות בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו. אחת שאלתי, let's try together. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אותה אבקש. Once again. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אותה אבקש. שבתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי, לחזות בנועם, בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו. לחזות בנועם, בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו. איי, 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 איי,
We have now arrived at Seder Kriyat HaTorah, the service for the chanting of Torah. And before we move into that space, I'm so grateful to welcome forward Joanna Pressman, member of our board, to offer us some greetings and announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I want to welcome you all today, everybody who's here in person, as well as folks who are joining us virtually. Thank you all for being here. Thank you also, of course, to our clergy for leading us today, Rabbi Stephanie Colin and Cantor Josh Breitzer. And thank you to our staff, led by our Executive Director, Mark Flaxer. In particular, I want to thank Amelia Kahani and Kimberly Lisi, I was looking at the wrong line, supporting us in person, as well as Gabby Savransky, who's providing audio and online support. Thank you also to our members, Lizzie Gradinger and Elise Sider, who were our ushers today, helping everybody get settled. And of course, Mazel Tov to Zoe Ben-Giat and Phoebe Pardo-Blum on your B'nai Mitzvah. Welcome to all of your family and friends who are here today, and again, joining us online. It's wonderful to be here with you today. We had a number of adult B'nai Mitzvah over the summer, and it's a real treat to return to some more traditionally aged people celebrating today. Looking forward to hearing and learning from you all today. Thank you, of course, also to the Leon Ben-Giat and Pardo Blum families for sponsoring our Kiddush this morning in honor of Zoe and Phoebe's B'nai Mitzvah. We will, at the conclusion of the service, say the blessings over on your left side, my right side of the sanctuary, and then there will be additional nash over on the other side. Just one announcement, the High Holy Days are coming up, and we're so excited to welcome the new year with you. Be sure to visit the CBE website at cbebk.org for our full schedule of services and all of the information you might need to start planning for the season. That's it for the announcements. Thank you all for being here. Have a great Labor Day weekend, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom, thank you. So as we move forward now into this service, this part of our service, what we will do now is present Zoe and Phoebe with their talitot. And so it is my great honor to call forward to present them with their talitot. Renee Pardo, Davina Pardo, and Andrew Blum, who are Phoebe's grandparents and parents, and Isaac Ben-Giat and Susan Leon, Daniel and Marianne Leon, Zoe's parents and grandparents, to come right up front. And as they come forward, I want to share with you, this garment might be new to some of you, and this is what they're going to receive, something just like this that we are wearing here this morning. And it can be beautiful, and they are beautiful in so many ways, but the thing that we draw our attention to are the four corners. On the four corners are our tzitzit. We say there are 613 knots in these tzitzit. 613 represent this mitzvot, the commandments, the things that we're supposed to do that teach us how to live our lives, to live a Jewish life. And so it might look like today is the grand celebration and ending and graduation of their Jewish studies. And in some ways, it is a grand celebration and even a bit of graduation of your Jewish studies. But wrapping themselves in these talitot with these fringes at their sides reminds us and them and their families and our people that this is just the beginning, and that we hope that they wrap themselves in these talitot for so many years to come, looking at these tzitzit and remembering who they are, where they come from, and where they might go next. And so we invite you to now hand over the talitot to these b'nai mitzvah as they come forward to place them on their shoulders and then to say the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu mitzvotav v'tivanu lehitatef b'tzitzit.
Amen.
Beautiful. Thank you. And you can have a seat, and you can have a seat, but you guys stay. Phoebe, no. We need you up here.
Phoebe, come on back.
Mazel tov. And so now we are going to, in a moment, we're going to open our ark. And then once our ark is open, and I'm going to call up some honors for who is going to open the ark. And once our ark is open, we will then have a procession, a hakafah with our Torahs around the ark. And so I'm going to call up two groups of names. The first group of names, we want you to come forward so you can open our ark this morning. And the second group of names, you are you're following our Torahs on our procession. You are in the on-deck circle. Okay, so you can wait by the side or be ready to come forward after we return the Torahs to standing right here. So if you are opening the ark, we invite you forward. Ruth Pardo, Diane, and Ronald Blum, who are Phoebe's grandparents, Marianne and Stephanie Leone, Ari Ben-Giat, and Rose Allison, who are Zoe's aunt's brother and his girlfriend. And then for our Torah Processional, our on-deck circle, we invite Micah Pardo Blum, Noah Greenberg, Simone Meisner, and Annabelle Friedman, who are Phoebe's brother and cousins, and the Middleburg, Warsowski, Pollock, and Pastor cousins. We invite everybody to please rise.
Page 362. Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kemaasecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו ושלום. אב הרחמים, היטיבה ברצונך את ציון, תבנה חומות ירושלים, תבנה חומות ירושלים, כי בך לבד פתחנו, מלך אל רם ונישא, אדון עולמים. Page 364. כי מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים. 366. ברוך שנתן תורה, תורה, ברוך שנתן תורה, תורה, לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. to do that again so the microphone is on and so that you can be heard singing Shema in the middle of page 366.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadelu l'Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo yachtav. Lecha Adonai hagedula ve'hagevura.
Our Torah followers can follow them out now.
Ve'hanetzach ve'hahod. Ki chol b'shamayim u'va'aretz. Ki chol b'shamayim u'va'aretz. Lecha Adonai hamamlacha. Clap your hands, Romimu, 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 Adonai Eloheinu. Keep clapping like that. Ishtachavu lehar kodesho. Romimu, 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 Adonai Eloheinu. Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Al shlosha devarim, left of center. Al shlosha devarim. Al shlosha devarim. Haolam omed. Keep it going. Al shlosha devarim. Al shlosha devarim. Al shlosha devarim. Get ready! Al HaTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim. Al HaTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim. Please be seated, including the two of you. Have a seat. Take a load off. Phoebe, have a seat. It's okay. Yeah.
This morning we are reading from the book of Deuteronomy. We are in Parshat Shoftim. If you want to read along the chanting that we'll hear this morning, you need to just find the book in front of you that is marked very clearly Torah. That's how you know it is the Torah. That's right. And you can find this on page 1300, and it's chapters, Deuteronomy chapter 19, verses 3 through 10, and 20, verses 12 through 20. And so for our first Aliyah, we are so glad to call forward Elisa Pardo, Ben Greenberg, Rebecca Pardo, Laura and Rob Meisner, who are Phoebe's aunts and uncles.
Yamdu kol el Aliyah harishona.
You have it nice and big. Yeah, I brought mine.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamborach.
Baruch Adonai mevorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai mevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim venatan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
אמן. תכין לך הדרך ושילשת את גבול ארצך אשר הנחיל לך אדוני אלוהיך, והיה לנו שמה כל רוצח, וזה דבר הרוצח אשר ינו שמה וחי, אשר יכה את רעהו בבלי דעת, והוא לא שונא לו מתמול שלשום, ואשר יבוא את רעהו והיה לחטוב עצים, ונידחה ידו והגרזל לכרות העץ, ונשל הברזל מן העץ, ומצא את רעהו ומת, הוא ינוס אל החפרים האלה וחי.
Baruch Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Come on to this side, please. You're going to stand right next to me.
Our second aliyah, we invite forward our Baal Kriya, who is Phoebe Pardo-Blum. And for our aliyah, Simone Meisner, Annabelle Friedman, and Noah Greenberg, who are Phoebe's cousins, forward for aliyah.
Yamdu kol elad aliyah shenit. And Phoebe is continuing from Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 6. And before we make the blessing, Phoebe is going to find their spot.
So you're going to go.
You're going to hold it? Yeah, right there.
And then they're going to respond. Yep. 3, 2, 1. Wait.
Baruch hu et Adonai hambarach, Baruch Adonai hambarach le'olam va'ed, Baruch Adonai hambarach le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Open your dove, goya hadam, ahare haratzeach, Kie ham, levavo, v'hisigo, kir behaderek, vehi kahuna fesh, v'lo ein mishpat mavet ki, lo sonehu, lo mitmol shilsham, akein mitz anuhim tarha, lemor, shalosh arim,
tabdilah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Please. Phoebe is now going to be called to Torah as B'nai Mitzvah by their Hebrew name. Na lamod k'bnei mitzvah rachel מבית טובה ויעקב לעליית התורה חיזוק ואומץ.
Baruch Adonai hambarach,
Baruch Adonai hamborach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hambarach le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
V'yim yarhiv Adonai Elohecha ekvilecha asher nishbat levotecha v'natan leha ekol ha'aretz asher diber l'teit levotecha ki tishmor ekol ha'mitzvah hazot la'asotah asher anuhi mitzvah hayom la'ahava d'Adonai Elohecha le'bidrachav kol ha'yamim ve'asavta leha'od shalosh arim al ha'shalosh ha'elek Velo yishafeh dam naki v'ker re'aretzha Asher Adonai Elohecha noten lecha nahala v'haya lecha damim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach. Please.
It is our tradition that before an open Torah, we always offer a prayer for healing, that we draw upon the generations of story and experience, suffering, and a return to wholeness that we find in our own story. And so at this time, if you are thinking of someone in your life, in your circles, who's suffering in some way, who's sick, maybe their bodies are aching, maybe they're in great pain physically, or maybe they're just lost or lonely or really struggling emotionally or spiritually, and you know that there is something that they feel like they are not whole. This prayer that we're about to say and these names that we're about to invite from you both ask that they be returned to a healing path, that they return to wholeness, but also it wakes us up and it reminds us that we have the power to make sure that they know that they are not alone, that their struggle is not, they don't have to do it all by themselves, and that we can reach out with love and with soup and with a call and with friendship and be with them. And so if you're joining us virtually, we want to invite you to place names that you're praying for their healing into our chat. And here in this space, we'll invite names in the midst of the prayer itself.
Page 371 back in your prayer book, back in Mishkan Tefillah, the middle page, 371. Misheberach Avoteinu Mekol HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
Your names now.
We pray together. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema. The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We continue with our chanting of Torah, with our fourth Aliyah. Invite forward Lynn Warsaski for chanting Torah, and for our Aliyah, Lynn and Diego Warsaski, Maurice and Fran Middleberg, Brenda and Alan Pollock, who are Zoe's cousins.
Yamdu ko'el al aliyah harvi'it. We are continuing from Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 12. Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 12.
do the blessing. Sorry about that.
Make sure that we can find the spot first. Just give us one moment. 4 lines up and 3 each. Somewhere around here, is that right?
Who wants to hold this?
Okay. All right.
Wait one moment.
Yeah.
We're actually going to go up to the next one. They're going to do the blessing first.
Okay. Ready? Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amin. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
ואם לא תשלים עמך, ועשתה עמך מלחמה, וצרת עליה, ונתנה אדוני אלוהיך בידיך, וחיכית את כל זכורה לפי חרב. רק אנשים, והטף והבהמה, וכל אשר יהיה בעיר, כל שללה תבוז לך. ואכלת את שלל אויביך אשר נתן אדוני אלוהיך לך.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nota b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
For our next Aliyah, we invite forward Zoe Stella Ben-Giat to chant our Torah, and our Aliyah is Susan and Isaac and Ari Ben-Giat.
יעמדו המשפחה שבת המצווה לעלייה לתורה. Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 15. 16, 15, 15.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
כן תעשה להוהה ערים הרחקות ממך מאוד אשר למאורי הגויים האלה הנה רק מאורי העמים האלה אשר אדוני אלוהיך נותן לך נהלה לתוהיה כל נשמה כי ההרים תהרימם ההיטי והאמורי הכנעני והפריזי ההיבי והיבוסי כאשר סביבך אדוני אלוהיך.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. We now call forward Zoe as bat mitzvah. She's going to take the corner of her beautiful new talit, touch the scroll where she'll continue before saying the blessing. Ta'amod, ta'amod, ta'amod. Habachuru bat mitzvah zol aliyah laTorah. Chizki ve'imsei.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai mevorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amin v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Oh, it's downward. Leman asher lo yilamdu echem la'asot kihol toavotam asher asu lelehem v'hatatem la'adonai elohehem ki tatzor el ir yamim rabim lehilehem alecha letofesa lo tashid et etza liamdo alav garzen ki mimech nu tohel v'to lo tikrot כי האדם עץ השדה, לבוא מפניך במצור. רק עץ אשר תדע, כי לא עץ מאהל הוא, אותות השיט והרעת ובנית מצור. על העיר אשר היא אומסה עם המלחמה עריתה. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'hayei olam nata betoheinu, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach. Step down. Hugs, kisses.
Hugs and kisses are good. That's right next in the list. You can hug and kiss your family. And now we are going to call forward for Galilee, for the dressing of Torah, Alex Saul, Zoe's cousin, and Micah Pardo-Blum, Phoebe's brother. We rise for Torah.
You can all make your way back to the pews. Everyone else is going to rise. We're on page 370. Where are the people who are dressing the Torah?
Coming, and with some help.
Great, awesome. So I'm going to lift the Torah really high so everyone can see exactly what Phoebe and Zoe just chanted. But in addition to seeing, you have to clap because we're going to be singing a festive, upbeat song to dress the Torah. Okay? Everyone can do that? Page 370. Vezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai beyad Moshe. Clap faster! Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Make it tighter, Torah, Torah. Can you tighten it? Torah, tziva lanu Moshe. Hey, Morasha, other way, Yaakov. Morasha, Kehilat Yaakov. Morasha, Kehilat Yaakov. Torah tziva, let's do it this way. Yalla yalla da 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 yalla da 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 yalla da 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 ya 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 Allah yalla da 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 ya 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 yalla da 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 ya 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 ay 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 da da ya 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 da da ya again, ay, 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 ay. Please be seated, except for Zoe and Phoebe. Zoe and Phoebe, come back up together because it's time for Haftarah.
So what's going to happen now, Zoe and Phoebe, you can make your way up, are going to chant from the Haftarah for this Aliyah, for this Torah portion this week. And what they're doing is they're chanting a piece of the book of prophets that a long time ago, somewhere around the 8th century, the rabbis said this piece of prophets has to do with this Torah portion. And they connected pieces of prophetic writing to each Torah portion that we read each week. You might think about why did they connect this one to this Torah portion as they're chanting. And then what will happen is that Phoebe and Zoe will share with us their words of Torah because we are following meaning-making throughout the generations. Torah happened, and then later the prophets happened, and now they happen. We are a chain of tradition, and we keep adding meaning and understanding to the Torah, and so that's what they're going to teach us, their understanding of what their Torah portions mean. Now, I hear somewhere in the ether, I hear crinkling sounds. This is good. You are holding a piece of candy that goes crinkle, crinkle. There are two things we don't want you to do with that candy right this moment. One, don't eat them yet. Two, see if you can not crinkle, crinkle them. That is very helpful. If they can be really, really quiet. Oh, that's much better. That was very impressive, very quick. Because as Zoe and Phoebe finish their Haftarah chanting, we're going to invite you to gently lob sweetness over them. Now let me be super clear because I see throwing happening already. Gently lobbing. I saw it. That was so you have a good whatever this is called. Yeah, that's not for this moment. Yeah, you should definitely do that when you're playing baseball though. But this moment, because we would never want to hurt our beloved B'nai Mitzvah, or the rabbi,
It's a very underhanded comment.
or the computer, but mostly the B'nai Mitzvah, we're of course going to only with love, gently and underhand, lob sweetness at them as they finish their Haftarah. We are so proud of you, and you'll begin with the blessing before Haftarah.
Wait.
Baruch atah. 1, 2, 3.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar b'nviim tovim b'tzav u'direhem haniyamarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai haboher b'Torah u'Moshe abdo u'Yisrael amo u'nivei ha'emet b'tzedek.
Phoebe.
Anohi, hu menachmehem, miat vatiri, mano shamut, umi ben adam, hatzir yinatain, vatishka Adonai oseha, vatei shamayim v'esed aretz, vatvahed tamid kol yom. Livnei hama tamidzik, kasher konem lashid, v'yeh hama tamidzik, yahar soheh lehipateach, Lo yamut lashad v'lo yaksar lakmo. Sur su'u misham tomeh al tigau su'u mitocha hibaru nosei kolei Adonai ki lo v'hepazon tetzehun uvim nusa lo telehun ki kolei lifnehem Adonai umasiphem Elohei Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Zor kol amim Sadik bechol hadarot Ha'el ha'ne'eman Ha'omer be'oseh Ha'medaber u'mekayin Shekol devarav Emet v'tzedek Al ha'torah Ve'al ha'avodah Ve'al nevi'im Ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu Likdusha v'limnucha Lehavod u'tifaret Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu Anachnu modim lach Umbarhim otah Yibarashim ha Befi kol hai Tamid le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch Shemo.
Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. Siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov. Yehenanu. Now come pick it up. Yehenanu, Yehenanu. Pick it up. Olecho Yisrael. No more throwing. Pick it up. Yehenanu, Yehenanu. Olecho Yisrael. Yehenanu, Olecho Yisrael. Yehenanu, Yehenanu, Olecho Yisrael. Siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov. Yehenanu. A noble effort. I still see some on the bima. If you can walk carefully up the bima stairs, you can get the candy from the bima too. I'm going to keep playing until all the candy from the bima gets picked up. You can walk up the stairs and get the candy that's on the bima. That's right up there. Yes, yes. Yes, I see some. Do you see some? Watch the flowers. Watch your feet. We get it all? Okay. Spread the wealth. If you see someone without any, maybe you'll give some of yours to them. Okay, you can make your way back to your seat. Thank you. Excellent job. Can we say Yasher Koach? Phoebe, time to teach us.
My Torah portion is about judges, the rule of law, and cities of refuge. In the Torah, when a person is accused of killing someone, they are at risk of retaliation by a blood avenger, a relative of the person killed. The Torah talks about creating cities of refuge, a way to protect individuals who accidentally kill someone else. Cities of refuge were meant to serve as a hiding place and protection for the killers. When they go to the city of refuge, it erases what they did in order to give them a second chance. My question is, why did the Torah allow blood avengers to decide the killer's fate in the first place? It seems like an early form of the death penalty. If they had a fair and functioning justice system and didn't have blood avengers overlooking the situation, then there wouldn't be a need for cities of refuge. The rabbis who interpreted the Torah were worried about this too. Centuries later in the Mishnah, which is a collection of laws finished in the year 200, the rabbis created rules that would control the death penalty and make it infrequent. In order for the court to consider the death penalty, there had to be two witnesses to a crime. The killer had to acknowledge that what they were doing could lead to the death penalty. The witnesses also could not be related to the killer or the one killed. Before the court hearing, each witness had to be interviewed to make sure that they had the exact same testimony. 23 judges had to hear the case together. At the start of the court hearing, the judges had to go around the room to talk about the good qualities of the killer to make sure that they were fairly judging the case. In order for the death penalty to happen, 13 out of 23 judges had to be in favor. However, if all 23 judges said that the death penalty should happen, then the killer was off the hook, because if all judges were in ruling of the death penalty, then it means they are too biased and any decision would not be fair. Even with all these rules, the rabbis struggled with how the death penalty would affect their community. A group of rabbis discussed the issue together in the Talmud, and they said without the death penalty, people might not have any severe punishment, pushing them not to commit murder. This just shows how complicated it all is. The real goal is to have no one killed, not the killer or the killed. Some say that not having a death penalty leads to more crime, but what about having a death penalty? That can cause innocent people to get killed who don't deserve to be, which is why they needed to be careful when it came to the point of having to kill someone. Today in the United States, this happens a lot. Many people have tried to fix this issue, but unfortunately there's a lot to fix. There have been countless deaths of innocent people caused by police in the criminal justice system. One organization that works to help this issue is the Innocence Project. The Innocence Project is an organization that works to free innocent people and prove wrongful convictions. Their goal is to bring justice to wrongly convicted people who are sentenced to life in prison or death. So many things are better in our world today than in the year 200, like more equality between genders, more knowledge about history and science, and individual liberty. But the rules that the rabbis created such a long time ago to protect the accused from the death penalty are actually better than the rules that we have now. They did more to protect life, more to make sure that the innocent people remain free, and more to guarantee that the justice system was fair. If the rabbis could do this 2,000 years ago, then we should be able to do this now. Shabbat Shalom.
The name of my Torah portion is Shoftim, which means judges. Moses tells the people to appoint judges and then gives laws about punishment and the death penalty. In this parsha is where we read the famous line, "Justice, justice shall you pursue." This verse means that there will be justice for all people. Well, there are a lot of rules to follow, such as people are not allowed to set up places for idols and don't follow false prophets. This certain one stuck out to me, which states, "You must not destroy trees, wielding the axe against them. You may eat of them, but you must not cut them down. Only trees that you know do not yield food may be destroyed." Since my Torah portion is centered around justice, there are many paragraphs focusing on the laws and court system, and while that is very important, the one small paragraph on the treatment of trees really stood out to me the most. As a young kid, I always had compassion for animals and the environment. I volunteered at Sean Casey Animal Rescue almost every day after school. I started to learn more about climate change as I got older, and also learned how it was affecting animals. This made me really upset, but I was young and thought I couldn't do anything. As I was learning more about climate change, I learned about trees and deforestation. Trees are essential for humans and animals, and deforestation leads to self-destruction. All trees should be valued equally since they help us survive, whether it's a fruit tree or a regular tree. While I was reading my Torah portion, I saw the rule of how fruit trees must not be destroyed if they have fruit on them. And while I was reading this, it brought up the question, why are the trees that have fruit not able to be cut down? Do those trees have more value than other trees? There are two commentaries that I studied. One is the principle Bal Tashit, or do not destroy. The This is about how wasteful destruction is forbidden, but when it is not wasteful or has a purpose, it tends to be excused. For example, if one destroys a tree for fun, it is seen as wasteful since it wasn't destroyed for an essential purpose. Another example is, say someone broke a glass bottle for fun and an animal steps on it. This principle reminds us of the domino effect that one small thing can do. The second commentary that I studied was written by Moses ibn Ezra, and he says, "Fruit trees yield food. Human beings require their produce for existence. Therefore, we are prohibited from cutting them down because in doing so, we are injuring ourselves. The life of human beings derives from trees. One does not destroy the environment because destruction of the environment results in self-destruction." This is about why fruit trees hold more value than normal trees. The fruit trees are essential for humans, so if you are causing destruction on them, then you are causing self-destruction. The second commentary, written by Moses ibn Ezra, made me really think deeply about the topic. Moses ibn Ezra had answered my question, why are the fruit trees that have fruit not able to be cut down? Do those trees have more value than other trees? But I still think there's more to uncover. This topic may seem a bit insignificant at first, and you may wonder, why do trees' value matter so much? But it can help us think about our world today in a more mindful way. The Torah's teaching about fruit trees points to a tendency of humans to be selfish. Humans act differently towards things or people depending on if it benefits them or not. Fruit trees were protected because they had more value to people, while regular trees were not cared about as much because they didn't provide anything to humans. This message is important, but even more so is the idea derived from this lesson, which is Bal Tashit, which reminds us that we need to treat all things with care. As an avid horse rider, I think about when I ride a horse with care and mindfulness for both myself and the horse, the ride is much smoother and more connected between myself and the animal. There are others who will be aggressive while riding a horse, and you can immediately see the change in the horse's behavior. The horse doesn't feel cared for, and ultimately it doesn't feel like the person riding understands that we are all connected and need to treat everything as if we are dependent on one another. Whether it's a horse or a fruit tree or anything of value to anyone, it's important to treat things with respect and dignity, because when we act with haste or with desire to destroy, the ripple effects could be dangerous and damaging to everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Phoebe and Zoe, first, I just want to tell you what a total joy it's been to learn from you this morning and to hear you chant your Torah and your Haftarah so beautifully. You've brought so much joy into this space. You did such an outstanding job with so much grace, where I know I joined so many people who are so proud of you and impressed by you and really moved by what you did here this morning. You've brought a lot of joy here into this sanctuary. You've also both chosen to teach about something that is so critically important. Each in your own way, you have cracked into the biggest questions about the value of life and how complicated it is to sort out our emotions and our opinions and our laws about that, about when life is sacred, about whose life is considered worthy, and how we judge the merit of life, person, animal, or even plant and planet. And neither of you took the simple path in raising these questions or let any of us off easy or even let Torah off easy. And I really appreciate that. Phoebe, in reflecting on the idea of the cities of refuge, which serve to house and protect someone who has killed another person, you've asked us to consider our country's relationship to the death penalty and what it means for how we value life. And it's not a great picture. Not only have you reminded us that in our very imperfect criminal justice system, innocent people are regularly jailed and even put to death, but you have raised another huge question. Should a person who is guilty of murder, someone who's committed a terrible crime, be put to death? It's such an important question to grapple with when in Oklahoma this week, they're going to begin executing an unprecedented 24 people over the next 29 months. We've got to be asking ourselves, is life in general sacred? Or do we really believe that some life is disposable? And Zoe, from a very different direction, you have also powerfully raised questions about the value of life in Jewish tradition. You artfully called out the Torah that it here seems to indicate that we should only care about life that serves us, in this case, fruit trees. and not worry so much about non-fruit-bearing trees because we don't get anything from them. Although, as you and scientists point out, of course, we desperately need all trees to be part of our ecosystem, regulating the temperature and the humidity and all of that. But by universalizing your beautiful teaching, you have challenged Torah's notion that life which serves or benefits or is seen as useful to some human beings is more worthy of our care and protection. That because we have the capacity to decide, we also have the right to decide which life is holy and which is disposable. These are deeply Jewish questions, questions with significant implications for our country, as the value of life and who gets to decide that is a central question in the public square today. When we talk about guns in our country, we're talking about the value of life and whether the lives of our children or shoppers or parade goers have greater value than gun manufacturers' profits, or for those who sincerely see regulating gun as limiting their freedom. The question is exactly the same. Should the value of life be prioritized over that freedom? When our Black family, friends, and neighbors and allies cry out that Black lives, Black life matters, this is a plea for our country to recognize the equal value of life and respond with justice and love and solidarity when Black lives are treated as disposable, as less worthy of protection or even dignity. When we engage in discourse around accessible and affordable health care for trans folks or differently abled folks or the poorest among us, these are all questions about the value of life, all related to the important questions that you raised this morning. Are all people's health and lifespan and quality of life seen as equally worthy in the eyes of the law and how we divvy up resources, no matter who they are, no matter who we are? All of these questions come down to your questions about the value of life. Does a life have to be seen as useful or perfect to be valued? And who gets to define those terms? And how have we come to see some life as more important and some life as disposable? You have identified a conversation that's at the very soul of our country, an area through which I think we are very much finding our way, and about which Jewish tradition has a lot to say. We are right now in the month of Elul, the month of preparation for the High Holy Days. And these days and the High Holy Days themselves are all about the value of life, our own and how we treat others. On Yom Kippur morning, we'll read in the Torah portion that God puts before us life and death, blessing and curse and life and death, and commands us that when we're given the choice to uvacharta b'chayim, to choose life. In this verse, it's a blanket statement, not a qualified suggestion with lots of caveats or endnotes or fine print. Just life. Choose it. Uplift it as much as we can for as long as we are able. Choose it even if it's inconvenient, even if it's complex, even if we don't understand its usefulness. Choose to value life. This is a practice in humility, to know that in many instances, we have the power to choose something else, prioritizing profit, or wielding political power, or asserting control. But fundamentally, Jewish tradition is going to ask us to choose life no matter who a person is. In fact, there's a midrash connected to the story of creation that talks about this. The rabbis asked, why was just one person created at first? Why just Adam? Why not a whole bunch of people all at once? It's a good question. And they answer, it was so that everyone can claim a common ancestor, so that no one could say, my father was greater than yours. The rabbis of the many generations that would come after Torah found way after way to help us see all life as holy and as worthy and as valued. So then what, you might ask, of all this other stuff, the fruit trees and the blood avengers, why does Parshat Shoftim get so in the weeds and ask such hard questions? If Torah just wants us to choose life, because life is complex, And we as human beings are imperfect. So we're given this fundamental truth of Jewish tradition that all life is sacred and equally so. And then we encounter the everyday details and challenges that give us the playing field to try to live up to that primary truth. And it won't always be easy. But as you become adults in the eyes of the Jewish people, you join us all in trying to figure it out together, in deep diving into Torah and in our tradition, into not being afraid to ask hard questions like the ones that you asked today and to learn new answers. This is also about our preparation for the High Holy Days. Throughout them, we talk about getting written in Sefer HaChaim, in the book of life. We pray that we're written in the book so that we can live another year. But your questions make us rethink this theological construct. I wonder if instead, maybe it's ours not to be written into a book of life, but rather to write it. With each decision that we're called upon to make as people, as a nation, maybe we're asked to write a book of life, a story, such that at every chance we have, where we incline ourselves towards choosing life, the chapters themselves, the narrative, will unfold before us, written in our hand to shape our world to be one where all can thrive. You are writing this book of life when you participate in the Innocence Project or in the Sean Casey Animal Rescue or all of the other ways that you have contributed to this story of life. Zoe and Phoebe, you've done today what Jewish tradition, what Torah asks us to do. You've made us think about hard questions, and you've tried to help us make ourselves get better at it and to be better, be more our whole selves by asking these hard questions. Today, you yourselves are what we'd call a machaya, which means something that gives life. Mazal tov to you both and to your families, and we wish you so many blessings as you find your way to choose life and to draw your communities and your people towards choosing life over and over again. Mazel tov and Shabbat Shalom. So what we'll do now is we have a chance to give Zoe and Phoebe a blessing. I have the honor of giving them a private blessing before the Ark in just one moment as we return Torah. But I know that I am not the only person who came in here today with good wishes and blessings, huge blessings for Zoe and Phoebe. So while we are up there and we are blessing, I want to invite you to take all the things you have in your hearts that you want for these young people, and I want you to point them right at Zoe and Phoebe and turn this sanctuary into a vortex of blessing, all coming at them at once. I promise you they will feel it. I'll invite you now to please rise, and Phoebe and Zoe to please come forward.
Page 374 in the prayer book, in the middle of the page, Hashivenu. Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Elecha, Venashuva, Chadesh, Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem, Chadesh, Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Page 586 at the bottom, Aleinu L'Shabeach. Aleinu L'Shabeach L'Adon HaKol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. 588 שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומים. Clap your hands. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו. וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת. אין עוד דרכי נקווה לך אדוני אלוהינו, לראות מהרה בתפארת עוזך, לתקן עולם במלכות שדי. 591 ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו אחד. Please be seated.
As we move towards the conclusion now of our service, as we always do at the end of prayer, we turn towards memory. We turn towards Kaddish Yatom, and in a moment on page 598, that's where we'll find this prayer. We draw from all of those who came before us, all of those people that we wish could be here right now, who aren't physically with us anymore, but would be so proud if they were, but whose presence walks with us. We bring them into this space and we celebrate their legacy and we remember them and we keep living their legacy by acting in this world as they would have wanted. If you are here and it's the first week of your loss, you're in a period of Shiva, we want to invite you to rise and share the name of who you're grieving. If this is the first month for you of your loss, a period of Shloshim, please rise and share their name. Thank you. Thank you. If this is the first year of your loss, we want to invite you to rise and share their name. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks. If this is a yahrzeit for you, an anniversary of a death, we want to invite you to rise and share their name as well. And now we rise to surround the mourners in our midst. As we join you in community, we add these names from our community. In their period of Shloshim, we remember Michael Eckenberg, our member, husband of Janice Eckenberg and father of Henry and William. Paul Eckenberg, father-in-law of Janice Eckenberg and grandfather of Henry and William. Richard Buckman, father of Brian Buckman, father-in-law of Kathy Colson and grandfather of Nora. Royce Schoenfeld Katzir, sister of Irvin Schoenfeld and sister-in-law of Pearl Schoenfeld. Alan Schwartz, father of Peter Schwartz, father-in-law of Nicole Schwartz and grandfather of Eitan and Milo. Linda Katz, sister-in-law of Jeanette Katz. Vicky Wepner, aunt of Jackie Schicker. And in their yahrzeit, the anniversary of their death, we remember Shirley Aaronworth Shine, Jerome Blumberg, Francis Brom, Simon Brett, Sidney Cass, Milton David Clausen, Charles Cohen, Dora Daniels, Rose Ehrlich, Zelda Ellie, Oria Fisher, Esther Friedman, William Game, Myra Gary, Nathan Green, Franklin Griff, Paula Gross, Sylvia Horowitz, Philip Calbin, Shepard Cantor, Albert M. Kasdan, Kate Kaufman, Sarah Kirsch, Charlotte Kluger, Sally Kolker, Rabbi Isaac Landman, Jacob Lapidus, Minnie Leff, Nathan Levine, Isaac Lewis, Mabel Lewis, Sally May, Henrietta Miller, Lauren Samantha Newborn, Lena Lottie Newhauser, Muriel Novik Nisberg, Ethel Podber, Burton Price, Mayor Rosenfeld, David Roth, Stuart Rothfeld, Karen Sachs, David Siegel, Walter Shearer, Saul Schur, Jacob Sylvie, Ethel Singer, Mary Solomon, Rose Spielman Rosenfeld, Minnie Teitelbaum, Karen Weiner, Max Weintraub. On page 598, we give blessing to their memory. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabba, B'yama divorach Hirute v'yamlich malchute, B'chayachon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Bat Gala uvizman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam ololmei olmaya. Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitdaleh, v'yitalal, shemed kudashat barichu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'miran bi'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mroma, v'hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to all who mourn. We say together, Amen.
יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו Come on! Yeah, la la la, louder! La 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 la, you can do it! Come on, friends! Yeah, la la la, yeah, yeah, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. If you're joining us virtually, hang around to say Shabbat Shalom to each other. If you're joining us right here, we want to invite you to Kiddush and Motzi right this way, and then to bigger noshes over there. Shabbat Shalom and Mazel Tov.
That's not enough. ששת ימים אשר נהרוס את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. Antonio wants one too. לעשות את השבת. Antonio, now's your time. ודורותם בבית עולם. ביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. שבת ויהי נפש. שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. על כן ברך אדוני את יום השבת ויקדשהו סברי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן. חיים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ. Shabbat Shalom. Please help yourself. There, here. Shabbat Shalom. If you're celebrating with Zoe and her family, the celebration continues in the ballroom across the street in 10 minutes. 10 minutes, Zoe's celebration continues across the street on the second floor.